He proposed, then disappeared. Mini audiobook. I still remember the ring box. Not the proposal, not his words, not even the sound of my own voice saying yes. Just the box. It was navy blue, velvet, soft in a way that made it feel older than it was, like something passed down, something with a story. I remember the way his hands trembled when he opened it, the way his eyes locked onto mine like the world had gone silent around us. I remember thinking, this is the moment my life changes, and it did. Just not the way I thought. He proposed on a Thursday night, right after dinner. Nothing extravagant, just pasta and garlic bread and his knee hitting the hardwood floor between two chairs, still warm from takeout and conversation. It was perfect in a way that felt real, messy, unexpected, honest. I said yes. Of course I did. And for the rest of the evening, he looked at me like he couldn't believe I was real. He kissed my knuckles like they were made of glass, held my hand with both of his like he was afraid I'd float away. The next morning, he was gone. At first, I thought he'd just stepped out, maybe to buy coffee, maybe to call his mum, maybe to breathe. It had been a big night. His phone was still on the nightstand, wallet too, his shoes, jacket, everything where he left it, everything but him. I waited an hour, then 2, then called him. No answer. I texted, checked the bathroom, checked the building. I even peeked into the parking lot like I expected to see him pacing with a bouquet of apology flowers. But there was nothing. It was like he had just vanished. By noon, I called his work. They told me he hadn't shown up. No call, no email, just nothing. I tried to laugh it off. I told myself this was just him being him, impulsive, dramatic, probably planning some elaborate surprise for our engagement. But hours passed, then a day, then 2. I filed a missing person report on the 3rd day. The officer asked me all the right questions. I answered them like I was on autopilot. Yes, we lived together. Yes, it was a real proposal. No, we didn't fight that night. Yes, he seemed happy, so happy. Too happy? No, I mean, maybe? I don't know. They took a photo, started a case, told me not to panic but to be prepared. I didn't know what prepared meant in this context. Prepared to find him? Prepared to lose him? Or worse, prepared to learn something I didn't want to know? That night, I sat on the floor of our bedroom and opened his top drawer. The one he always kept a little too neat. Inside were a few folded t-shirts, a broken watch, a note I'd written him once and forgotten about, and beneath it all, tucked in the very back, a receipt, dated 2 weeks ago. One-way train ticket, no return. I stared at the receipt like it might rewrite itself. A one-way ticket, 2 weeks before the proposal. The date was burned into my memory now, etched behind my eyelids every time I blinked. It was like finding a ghost of intention, a shadow of something he never said out loud. He bought the ticket before he asked me to marry him. That meant something. It had to. I called the train station. Told them I was trying to find a receipt I lost. I gave them the number on the slip of paper. The woman on the other end of the line sounded tired, like she'd rather be anywhere else. But she found it. Yep, that one was used. Departure 8:12 a.m. on the 21st. 1 adult, no bags. Did he go alone? Sorry, we don't track that kind of detail. Click. He left the morning after he proposed, slipped out before sunrise. No bags, no wallet, no phone, just gone. I kept replaying the night before. The way he looked at me, the weight in his kiss, the way he held my face in his hands like I was the last real thing in the world. Was it guilt? Was it goodbye? Or was it a lie so beautiful I still wanted to believe in it? I started digging. Old emails, bank records, photos, notes on his phone. I wasn't looking for betrayal, I was looking for explanation. Something that would tell me why the man I loved would get down on one knee, ask me to share forever, and then vanish like a ghost before the ring had time to settle on my finger. I didn't find much. No secret affairs, no signs of debt, no hidden identities. But I did find something else. A burner phone, tucked inside his gym bag, zipped into the lining. Dead battery, no SIM card. Just one photo in the camera roll, a woman, maybe early 30s, long dark hair, smiling. She looked like she was on a pier, waves crashing behind her, sunglasses pushed up into her hair. I didn't recognize her, but something in the way she looked at the camera, it wasn't casual, it wasn't staged. It was like she was looking at him. I called the police again, told them about the photo, told them about the burner phone. They said they'd take it into account, that they'd follow up, that I should try to stay calm. I hung up and screamed into my pillow until my throat burned. That night, I dreamed I was walking through a train station full of strangers. Only they all had his face, and every one of them looked away when I got close. I started calling hospitals, then morgues, then shelters. I told myself I was being thorough, but truthfully I was bracing for the worst. Then something happened. Day 7. A package arrived. No return address, just my name, handwritten, familiar. Inside, the ring, not in its box, just loose in a small velvet pouch, and with it a note. I didn't lie, but I couldn't stay. That's all it said. No signature, just those words. I read it 100 times. Each time it felt like a confession with no crime, a truth with no explanation. He said he didn't lie. But the absence, the silence, the trail of missing, it all felt like betrayal. What kind of love ends before it even begins? I placed the ring on the windowsill, let the sunlight catch it, watched the way it sparkled like it was still waiting to be chosen, and I whispered, "Then why did you ask me to say yes?" It happened in the most ordinary way, not with a dramatic knock, not with an anonymous tip or a grand reveal, just a photo buried deep in a friend of a friend's tagged images on social media. I was scrolling without thinking, trying to numb myself into forgetting, when I saw it. A crowded outdoor cafe, a row of metal chairs, blurry faces, and there he was, sitting by the edge of the frame, holding a cup of coffee, wearing the same coat he left in, his head tilted towards someone just outside the shot. He looked calm. I froze, clicked, zoomed, checked the timestamp. It was recent, days old. The cafe was in a city 3 hours away, coastal, quiet, not a place we ever talked about. I didn't think. I packed a bag and drove. I arrived late in the afternoon. Found the cafe easily. It looked just like the photo. Chipped chairs, faded umbrellas, the smell of salt in the air. I sat at a bench across the street, heart racing in my throat, wondering what I'd even say if I saw him. And then I did. He stepped out of the cafe. Same coat, same walk. But his eyes weren't tired. His shoulders weren't hunched. He looked lighter. He sat at a table, alone. I crossed the street. Each step felt like a war. When he saw me, he didn't flinch. He didn't run. He just looked at me, like he'd been expecting this. "Hey," I said. "Hey," he replied. No shock, no denial, just a soft smile, almost apologetic. I sat down across from him. "You left," I whispered. He nodded. "I know. You proposed to me, then you disappeared." "I know," he said again. "And I'm sorry." We sat in silence for a while. The ocean crashed in the background, like applause for something neither of us could claim. Finally, I asked the question that had haunted me for weeks. Why? He looked at his hands, picked at the corner of his coffee cup, and then he said, "Because I needed to feel like I could be that version of myself, even if just for one night." I didn't understand. He kept going. "That night, when I asked you, I meant it. Every word, every look, every kiss. I meant it. But I also knew I couldn't stay. I knew I'd mess it up. I knew I wasn't the person you thought I was. Not really. So you ran. No, he said. I let you go. You didn't give me a choice. He sighed. I loved you. That's why I left. Because if I stayed, it would have turned into something that hurt you. And I didn't want that to be our story. But now it is. He winced. And for the first time, I saw the pain in his eyes match my own. I didn't cry. I thought I would. But there was something final about his voice. Something that made the whole thing feel less like abandonment and more like a chapter ending. You could have told me, I said. I didn't want to ruin what we had. You did anyway. We said goodbye without saying the word. I stood. He didn't follow. I walked away, the ring still in my pocket, heavier than before. Weeks have passed. He hasn't reached out. Neither have I. The ring now lives in the back of my drawer, next to receipts and pens that don't work. And sometimes, when the house is too quiet, I still wonder what it was that made him run. But more often I remind myself, he didn't just disappear, he chose to leave. And that's not the same thing. Some people leave without a reason. Some stories don't. If this one stayed with you, subscribe for more. Thank you for listening.